There are stories that change your mind and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, their story may become your own. Maybe right now you're lying somewhere, body soft, eyes closed or almost. Maybe you've had days where it was hard to remember what you stand for or who you are. Maybe there was a time when your voice felt like a faint note in a loud room. That's exactly what Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion, once felt too. Let this story hold you quietly, like a warm hand on your back. Imagine Maya's breath, slow and calm, mingling with your own. Let there be time for your heart to settle and for the outside world to fade. Maya was born under a sky that never hurried. She was a child not just of the American South, but of stillness, the hush between words, the peace that grows inside longing. Her childhood was a world of shadows and dappled light, of grown-up tension you could sense but couldn't solve. Sometimes you could feel the longing thrumming in her silence, the soft ache for a mother's arms, the safety of knowing you belonged. Imagine yourself at 6, 7, 8 years old, each day ordinary, strung together like pearls, moments when someone else's anger could send you hiding in the corners, or laughter could break through any cloud. Maya's world was made of difference. She noticed, she felt, she listened more than she spoke. She lived in the hush of other people's truths, waiting for her own to rise. Maybe there were nights, for her as for you, when the only warmth was the hope you carried behind your ribs. Nights when loneliness crept toward her form and she lay awake, small and watchful, heart humming with possibility and fear. Have you ever felt the weight of unspoken dreams pressed like a stone beneath your chest? Maya did too. But what you may not know is that ache can grow into something bright. Her story is about the ways pain cracks us open so kindness can move in. It's about how silence shapes wisdom and how courage can be steady, not loud. The kind of courage you find tucked in between breaths, disguised as patience, or the gentle will to keep getting up every morning. If you're listening now, tired, uncertain, or just curious, know this. Maya's journey is here not to teach, but to companion you, to be a soft light in the corners of your heart, reminding you what stillness and presence can feel like. Her rhythm is the invisible pulse you find in poetry, in the ordinary, in the weight of a loving gaze. So tonight, as you close your eyes, let your spirit lean in and listen. Maybe her courage will become your comfort, her compassion your quiet guide. You don't have to understand it all. Just listen for the breath beneath her story and notice what changes inside you. Maya's beginnings were humble, her world both harsh and forgiving. Childhood started in St. Louis and soon shifted to the small town of Stamps, Arkansas. There the land was flat, the air thick with expectation. Maya felt the difference on her skin, in the way eyes followed her, in the hush that lingered after someone spoke her name. Every day was a lesson in observation. when to speak, when silence was safer, how to read a room by the rhythm of footsteps. She lived with her grandmother, whom she called Mama Grandmother, built like the trunk of an old tree, strong, grounding, a shadow at sunrise and a fortress at nightfall. In stamps, most things weren't fair, but most things were predictable. The market with its uneven floors, the church, thick with hope and music. Maya found safety in routine. She learned that kindness is a steady rhythm, not a loud parade. She learned that softness could save you. And yet the world outside was sharp, segregation laying invisible fences through every street, every heart. Stamps had its wounds pressed into the lives of its children. Maya learned early. The world could be breathtakingly beautiful or breathtakingly unforgiving. She became a collector of quiet moments, the clink of spoons after supper, a hymn rising low, a glance exchanged between sisters. Life gave her a million reasons to give up, and still a million and one to hope. Silence grew inside her. Sometimes silence protected her, other times it weighed her down. But in that hush, Maya's soul learned to breathe. Maybe, like you, she learned that what hurts us can also become sanctuary if we let ourselves rest there, if we find the courage to keep returning. Tonight, we walk with her, each chapter revealing not a hero, but a human, someone who found her own way to rise again and again with quiet courage and compassion. As you drift, remember, this is not just her story, it's a story longing to be lived in you. There are stories that change your mind and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. Here in the hush of night, let your body soften, and let an old friend's voice be the lamp that gently brightens what you've been carrying. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion. We're not here to study someone from history. We're here to find something sacred inside you, mirrored in her story. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, their story may become your own. This is not just biography, it's an invitation. If you've ever woken up in the dark, unsure of where to turn, if you've ever felt unseen or unspoken, quietly gathering your strength in silence, if you've ever wondered if your gentleness could make a difference, that's exactly what Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion, once felt too. Close your eyes. Let your thoughts loosen their grip. Breathe, and let Maya's journey drift quietly beside you like a river under moonlight. No pressure to remember every detail. This is a story for your body as much as your mind, a whisper that says, "You belong." Even the softest presence can change everything. Maybe for you, it's been a long stretch of uncertainty. Maybe the world sometimes asks you to armor up, speak louder, or hide your tenderness. This voice you hear now, my voice, is rooting for you. We begin at the edges, where Maya was only Marguerite, a girl shaped by distance, hope, and an inner world that protected her long before anyone knew her name. I wonder how you feel when someone looks at you, really looks, or when you're left with just your breath and the quiet tumble of thoughts in the night. Have you carried secrets alone, or hungered for gentle company. We all have chapters that begin in silence. Maya's first years unfolded at the border of what's spoken and unspoken. Arkansas heat, wooden porches, the scent of dust and pine in the air. Her very life, a whispered question. Does anyone really see me? There is power in the unseen. In the room where you lie listening now, there is breath and there is longing. A kind of courage rises not with a shout, but in the willingness to stay. Stay with your feelings. Stay with the ache or the hope. Tonight, we're traveling with Maya, not to escape, but to rediscover the courage you already carry, quietly alive beneath your skin. So settle back. Find the place in your chest that aches or quietly vibrates. Let what Maya found in herself, in the world that so often turned away, become the gentle torch we hold together, wandering through the long night, not alone, never alone, but side by side. This is an ode to compassionate presence, to soft eyes in a harsh world, to the way one spirit, steady, healing, unflinching in its softness, can weave resilience from fragile beginnings. Breathe in, breathe out. This story is not just about Maya Angelou. It's about the part of you that refuses to disappear, that finds courage in compassion, that remembers how powerful a quiet heart can be. You're safe here with this story. And as the night deepens, you may find your own quiet brilliance, glowing, hidden, waiting right here at the center of your chest. Let's begin. There are stories that change your mind, and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. Right now, as you close your eyes or settle deeper beneath your blanket, you're not just drifting away from the day. You're drifting into something real, something old and new at the same time. The kind of story that waits beneath everything ordinary, like a quiet fire behind your chest. Tonight, on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you. Maybe you felt tired before. Maybe the world felt too loud, too demanding, asking you to be more than you know how. Or maybe you've longed just to rest, to feel known by something gentler, something more honest. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, her story may become your own. Have you ever felt out of step with the world, like you're walking to a different drumbeat, but everyone else only hears chaos? Or maybe there was a time when words sat trapped inside you, heavy and true, but too sacred to say out loud. That's exactly what Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion, once felt too. Not as a lesson or a myth, but as a deep ache, a longing to belong and to find rest in her own skin. Tonight I'll walk with you, not above you, not as a distant voice, but here in the hush between your breaths, where stories find their way into your dreams. Maya's journey isn't about big moments or headlines. It's about the quiet, the steady, the sacred behind the scenes, courage and compassion living as a whisper, a rhythm, a way through the dark. Let yourself breathe out. Release whatever you carried today. You don't have to solve or fix anything right now. This is a journey meant to be felt, not forced. Maya Angelou's path is one of slow awakenings, of finding freedom not in noise or heroics, but in truth, spoken in a gentle, unwavering way. Tonight, in the soft dark, we'll trace the steps of a soul who learned to befriend her silence, who picked up the cracked pieces of her own life, and with them made a light brighter than what hurt her. Her courage wasn't a shout, it was the steady hand on your back, the warmth that says, "You're already enough." You might remember a time you wanted to hide, or you longed to be heard. Just for tonight, let go of everything you're supposed to be. You can listen as you, just as you are. Maya Angelou's story is about the person beneath the roles, beneath the armor, the one who finds, again and again, a kind of quiet power in just being real. So, as you drift deeper, hold this space. Let Maya's soul biography become a gentle guide, a companion through your own night. There's no rush, only stillness, only breath, only the invitation to find courage where you least expect it and compassion where you need it most. This is your story, too, the story of walking home to yourself, one quiet breath at a time. There are stories that change your mind, and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, their story may become your own. Have you ever felt the world go still? Have you ever wondered if you truly belong? Maybe there was a time when your voice felt too small to echo out, or a moment when the world felt impassably wide, that it might swallow your dreams. That's exactly what Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion, once felt too. Tonight, I invite you to close your eyes. Let all the noise of the day dissolve. Here, in this calm space, my voice is just a companion, a gentle reminder that you are not alone. You are resting with stories that have crossed through storms and silence, and somehow become even more luminous. You are listening to the life of someone who learned to soften edges with compassion, to move through pain with awe, to give language to the unspeakable and light to the unseen. If you are here, you are already part of this journey. All you have to do is breathe. Maybe you are here to remember how gentle courage can be. Maybe you are here because you once felt swallowed by silence too. Or maybe tonight you are just ready to rest, to feel your body growing lighter, your thoughts growing softer. The story of Maya Angelou isn't the story of one life. It's the rhythm of every life that searches for hope in the shadows, listens for music beneath struggle, and keeps walking onward in the night. It's a story that will settle into your breath, hold you like quiet hands. Stay for a while and let Maya's courage find its way into your dreams. You don't have to do anything but be here. Let the world slow. Let's begin. Maya Angelou came from a place both ordinary and miraculous. Her life, at first glance, was like so many others, a child in a world that didn't always know how to cherish her softness. But if you listen closely, you'll start to notice it's her quiet courage, her gentle compassion, that changes the air in a room. moves people without ever raising her voice. That's the feeling we will rest into tonight. So bring whatever longing you carry, whatever questions or tiredness you bring to this night. Let the journey hold you. You deserve to rest. We all do. Let's walk gently together into the quiet brilliance of Maya Angelou. There are stories that change your mind and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. You're here tonight with the modern mystic. This isn't just another history lesson or a record of what happened long ago. Tonight is about entering the quiet brilliance of Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion. It isn't really about her, not in the way most people think. It's about what she might show you. You in the dark, ears open, maybe tired or restless or searching. Our time together isn't about collecting facts. It's an invitation to let go of everything outside and explore one's soul's journey as a way to find your own. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, if your insides have ever felt knotted up, uncertain or hollow or heavy, her story might become a gentle light in the dark. Maybe you're here because it's been a long day. Maybe there's something unspoken right now you're ready to heal. Maya's life might remind you that even in the quietest, hardest nights, gentleness and strength can live together. Have you ever felt small and unseen, like your voice was lost in all the noise? Maybe there was a time when you kept silent, even though your heart was screaming. That's exactly what Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion, once felt too. We start not with her fame, not with applause, but with what it means to learn how to breathe again, slowly, in a world that doesn't always listen. There's power in stories you feel more than remember. Stories like deep breathing, where the true lessons float up, slow and steady, seeping quietly into who you are. That is what Maya can offer you tonight, a mirror, not of grandeur, but of those soft, hard places in you that yearn for peace. All you have to do is rest, listen, and just be here. Any part of you longing for comfort, for meaning, for belonging, that's welcome here. In the hush of your room, there's a story unwinding. It goes backward and forward, touching joy and hurt, tracing quiet revolutions of the soul. Tonight, you're more than an audience. You're invited to remember a deeper part of yourself. Maya's path may sound unique, marked by struggle, silence, courage, and compassion. But the real secret is this is not just her path. It is a path that lives in you too. So if you're tired or hurting, if you need a place to let down the armor and just feel safe, or if you simply want to know, really know, that a single, gentle life can change everything, linger here. Let each word move through you, slow as a steady breath. We'll begin not with answers but with presence. One breath, one heartbeat, nothing more is needed. Maya whispers to us across time, and if you listen softly enough, you might hear your own soul answer back. Breathe, let's begin. There are stories that change your mind and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. Some stories find you in the quiet, not screaming for attention, just a kind of pulsing presence, waiting for you to notice. When you do, it's as if the air in the room shifts, soft, full, a little electric, like you just stepped into something sacred, not dramatic, not flashy, just real and whole and clear. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, their story may become your own. Maybe you've had those nights, long and stretched out, where the quiet is so big inside you, you worry you'll get lost in it. Or afternoons where the world feels too sharp, too fast, moving past what matters, and you find yourself searching for someone who knows how to meet the world with a softer strength. Have you ever felt that ache, the wish to be truly seen, to live with meaning, or just to find some softness in a world that asks you to be hard? That's exactly what Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion, once felt too. Underneath it all, they were a seeker, just like you. They found themselves standing at the edge of their own life, listening for a voice that hadn't formed words yet, a yearning for belonging, for dignity, for home, when both the outer and inner worlds told them they didn't quite fit. So, as you lie here, about to drift into a quieter space, let their journey sink into your bones, not as something you need to remember in the morning, but as a presence that walks with you through the darkness and the in-between. We'll move slowly, gently, step by step. There's no rush. Each breath is a doorway. Every pause, a turning of the page inside. You don't have to do anything right now. Let my words do the moving, and you just feel. This isn't about facts or dates, but about the silent courage that builds inside a person, sometimes so quietly. It's only years later you realize you carried that same quiet flame. So if you're ready, or even if you're just tired, let's step together into this story. Feel yourself soften at the edges. Loosen your grip. The world is still out there, but for this moment, it's just you and Maya and a silent, breathing night that stretches long and safe in every direction. If you've ever wanted to know, as in really know, what lives at the core of courage, or how compassion finds a home in a restless heart, you may find your answer here. Not because you'll be told, but because, as you listen and breathe and drift, you'll remember. Not just the story of Maya Angelou, but the light that lives quietly, courageously in you. Maya Angelou drifted into the world not with a shout, but with a gentle arrival, as if even the universe wanted her first moments to be wrapped in quiet. Born on a spring morning in St. Louis, Missouri, she entered a country woven tight by tension, hope, and unspoken rules. There wasn't much warning about how hard things would be, not in the air, not in the room where she was born. But the truth is, some lives begin with obstacles set out like mile markers, waiting to be crossed, one slow step at a time. Maya's early life moved between two worlds, a city trying to find its own rhythm again, and a small town in Arkansas that felt frozen in time, stubborn and slow. She was sent away at just 3 years old, placed on a train with her brother, shipped from mother to grandmother, as if home was just another stop on a map and belonging was something you had to earn. It's easy to think kids just adapt, but Maya carried the confusion quietly, like a secret. Have you ever been so young you couldn't find words for your ache? So instead you listened, observed, let the silence grow big inside you. That was Maya, too wise, too watchful, letting the world move while she tried to find her place inside it. There wasn't much safety, even in childhood. The world came at her sharp and unyielding, sometimes overt, sometimes little stings and slights that add up. She saw how her grandmother carried dignity through the thick air of a segregated South, moving with quiet confidence, head held high, never raising her voice to meet cruelty where it lived. Maya learned by example how to bend without breaking, how to stay soft even when the world tried to harden you. But pain found her early, too. Not the kind people talk about, the kind that sits under the surface, rewiring your sense of safety. There was violation, loss, years where hope was something she held at arm's length. She stopped speaking for a long, long time, a silence so total it was like she'd disappeared inside herself. Many thought she'd be lost there forever. But what was happening inside that silence wasn't emptiness. It was an awakening. In the hush, Maya began to listen, not just to others, but to something deep inside. She'd watch the light change in a room, the way voices could hurt or heal, how words held weight. She started catching pieces of herself in poetry and stories, in the refrain of an old hymn or the rhythm of the porch rocking under her grandmother's touch. Her silence shaped her vision. She didn't yet know she'd become a voice for others. She didn't know her pain would become a kind of bridge, or that her longing would echo in thousands of hearts. But she knew this. Even in her quietest moments, something lived in her, waiting for the world to see it. So when you hear Maya's story tonight, let it be about more than a journey through pain. Let it be about the soft, insistent pulse of life, a current you can only feel when everything else drops away. The part of you that listens, even when everyone stops talking. The secret courage you carry, just waiting for a safe place to land. Let's move from that first longing now, breathing into the space where silence holds a spark. Because that's where every great story and every lasting peace begins. There are stories that change your mind and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, their story may become your own. Have you ever felt a pull in your chest, like an invisible guide wanting you to go deeper? Maybe there was a time when you felt small or unseen, or felt your voice lost somewhere behind your ribs. Maybe at some point you wished for someone brave enough to simply stand in their truth, gentle enough to hold the room with silence, and radiant enough to remind you that you matter. You are not alone. That's exactly what Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion once felt too. So as you settle down tonight, Let your body sink into the rhythm of this voice. Imagine the hush of night holding you safe. Let your breath move in and out. Inhale, soft. Exhale, softer still. Tonight, you'll be drifting through the story of a woman who learned to speak, not with noise, but with stillness. A woman who found the softest parts of herself and made them her strongest. A presence that could calm a storm just by remembering peace within her own chest. You'll hear about quiet mornings where hurt couldn't be explained, only felt. About the kind of silence that isn't empty, but full of longing. You'll walk through memories, some bright, some shadowed. See what molded Maya's quiet courage, her unspoken compassion. Feel every lesson as if it were your own. The ache and the beauty, the losses and the lights that showed her a different kind of power. No one needs to be old or wise or perfectly put together to begin this journey. You just need curiosity, maybe a little hope, maybe a tiredness that's ready for new light. Maya once believed she was invisible. She learned to see herself by touching the edges of her heart in the dark, learning that pain could whisper in the same language as joy. So, if you've ever wondered if your softness was enough to survive, if your quietness was enough to be heard, if you could ever turn your hurt into healing, let this story gently cradle you as you drift. Let Maya walk beside you in the hush. Tonight, you meet her in the quiet between breaths, and maybe meet yourself again. You're here, and that matters. There are stories that change your mind, and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, her story may become your own. Have you ever felt the weight of words unsaid, or the silence between the notes of your own life? Maybe there was a time when you wondered if your feelings were too much or not enough. That's exactly what Maya once felt too. You're here with me, in the soft middle of the night, where the world is gentle and old worries seem to float away. You're not alone in the search for meaning. You're already part of a quiet lineage of those who know that something precious rests in the quiet, something remembering itself inside you. So as you settle in, let your mind drift, let your body soften, and listen, not just with your ears, but with the spaces between your breaths. We're not here for noise. We're here for that deep, resonant pause that tells us we're alive. Maya Angelou is not only a name on a book or echoes on a stage. She is the way a gentle truth untangles itself in your chest, the way compassion reshapes anger, and courage rises in the smallest whisper. Maybe you've had a time when hope felt just out of reach, too soft to grasp. Maya's story sits here with you, patient, warm, reminding you that courage often comes disguised as listening, as surviving, as simply waking up to yourself. Again and again, there's no need to achieve, no need to perform, just breathe. Let Maya's journey become a light, quietly illuminating whatever you're ready to see inside. This story isn't for someone else. It's for you. for the soft, sacred part of you that recognizes kindness, that longs for the strength to be gentle, even when the world isn't. That's where we'll begin tonight, right where Maya began, with longing, with silence, with the deepest need to be seen. Take another breath. Let yourself listen. We're just getting started. In the earliest moments of Maya Angelou's life, the world was both loud and impassably quiet. She grew up in the shadows of the American South, where sunlight hit the trees differently and stories hung from branches like fruit, waiting to be picked. Maya was born Marguerite Annie Johnson, wrapped in a world that didn't know how to hold all her brightness at once. The sounds of grown-ups arguing, the hush between angry words, and the sweetness of laughter behind closed doors, all of it shaped the music of her early days. There was something breathtaking and heavy in the home she shared with her grandmother in Stamps, Arkansas. The air was thick with the scent of flour and molasses from the family store, and everything seemed to move at the pace of memory. Picture the child Maya, watching, listening, sometimes fearing her own voice. The grown-ups believed in silence, believed children were best not heard. So Maya became a girl of listening, picking up the smallest signals, living in spaces between shouts and whispers. There was pain, too, the kind felt more than spoken. Her parents, separated by hardship, left her and her brother to travel vast distances. It planted a quiet ache in her chest, a longing for home that never quite found a place to settle sometimes. During storms, Maya would curl up by the window, watching lightning paint lines across the dark sky, wondering if it was possible to be both thunder and quiet, both frightened and brave. At church, hymns floated up like prayers whispered right into her bones. She saw people cling to hope with hands roughened from work, singing about a future they could barely imagine. Maya's longing to belong, to be cherished, dug itself deep under her skin and between her ribs. Silence became her sanctuary and her shadow. There is no need to rush through the pain, no need to shrink away from the longing. That bitter sweetness, it grew into a space where compassion could enter, a softness, not just for herself, but for all those who felt alone in a crowd. Maybe you know that silence. Maybe you've had nights when your own words felt too loud to speak. That's the world Maya knew, and where the roots of her courage dug in. Let the quiet be a comfort. Let her early longing remind you you already belong, just as you are. Rest and let the story keep unfolding within you. There are sparks beneath every silence, waiting, and Maya's spark was about to find its way into light. It didn't happen all at once. The first spark in Maya's life was like breath, subtle, quiet, but life-changing. You might remember the exact moment your own heart stirred differently, not with noise, but with an inner nudge that would not let you go. Maya was still young when this first current found her. She had been shaken by things children should never endure. A wound left her silent for years. But there, in her wordless world, she discovered something gentle for Maya. Books became a lifeline. She could fall into poems and stories as if slipping under warm water, safe, unseen, and free. The library in that little southern town was not just a place. It was a universe where she mattered just for being curious. Every page turned quietly in the dark taught her that words could save. Stories could rescue. There was a woman, Mrs. Flowers, who saw Maya when no one else seemed to notice. She invited Maya to listen, to feel, to taste words like they were slices of cake. She read poetry aloud, letting language lift the air and soften the hard places inside Maya. Under the gentle touch of Mrs. Flowers, the world began to shimmer for Maya in a new way. There's something breathtaking that happens when someone truly sees you. Maybe you felt that too. When you're believed in for exactly who you are, even before you say a word. The spark was not about being loud. It was about recognizing her own worthiness, her own right to voice, even in the hush. The pages, the poetry, the kindness, they became a gentle fire, urging Maya to return, little by little, to herself. You can take as long as you need to return to yourself. Too, sometimes the first spark is simply being invited to the table. Sometimes it's knowing the world will wait for you, even when you cannot speak. Breathe into that. As Maya's spark glimmers, may it find a twin inside you tonight. Of course, sparks bring light, but light also casts shadows. Maya's sacred struggle would never be simple, never tidy. As she grew, Maya's world was shaped by loss, by injustice, by the weight of being black and a woman in a world not built for her hope. There was pain, not storybook pain, not pain that just disappears. Pain that lingers, that wakes you up at night, that teaches you the rhythm of survival. Maya's struggle could feel like a wound inside her chest, an ache that words could sometimes reach, but never cure. Her silence after trauma felt endless, but even as her voice returned, the world outside still pressed its own silences upon her. She faced poverty, heartbreak, the sting of racism, the kind that hides in glances, in rules, in entire towns built on quiet cruelty. Some nights the world felt impassably still, with only her sorrow to keep her company. But even in the heaviest moments, Maya refused to stop feeling. She learned that emotion wasn't something to escape. It was something to breathe through, to live with, to transmute into song and story. There's a holy honesty in her struggle. Maybe you recognize it, those seasons when nothing gets easy, but somehow you keep showing up. Maya's enduring power wasn't that she escaped hardship. It was that she honored it, shaped it into something new, let it make her more compassionate, not less. Every heartbreak became a well of empathy for all who hurt. Every injustice became a poem, a speech, an understanding gaze. Her sacred struggle isn't about overcoming. It's about allowing pain to sit alongside beauty, letting life be both heartbreak and breath, both shadow and soft light. You are allowed to let your own struggle soften you, not harden you. Let Maya's example be a gentle hand at your back, reminding you that your struggle is part of your rhythm. And the dawn comes quietly, always. There comes a night or a morning when what you once were cannot carry you forward. For Maya, the turning point was not a single event, but a tender, trembling decision. There came a moment when her pain, her silence, and her longing sharpened into resolve. Maya chose to move, not just out of places that hurt, but into places that waited for her. She became a mother while still barely grown herself. She chose to leave stamps, leave behind the certainty of a small world, and step into the unknown. That first crack in her old life was terrifying, but necessary. Maybe you know the feeling. When everything familiar becomes too small, when the old ways can't contain your shine anymore. Maya's turning point was not about running away. It was about claiming space, claiming her own rising. She moved through cities, through heartbreak, through jobs that almost broke her spirit, but kept bringing her back to life. Dancer, singer, waitress, cable car conductor. Each new step was her saying, I exist. I can choose. I am more than my brokenness. Courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's simply the choice to keep showing up, to trust that your turning point lives, even in the most ordinary days. Maya's story reminds us there is never just one moment of transition, but a living, breathing tide, slowly teaching us to swim again and again. If you're on the edge of that tide, if tonight feels uncertain, trust that you're not alone in this turning. The world will keep opening, breath by breath, as Maya's did. What happens when you finally stand in your truth, when your soul finds its own steady rhythm, separate from the noise? For Maya, living her truth was not a performance. It was a daily, quiet alignment. Every thought, every step, every word born from the same strong current inside her. She became a storyteller, a teacher, a fierce friend to those who needed someone to believe. Maya's laughter was deep, the kind that vibrates in your bones, clearing out old pain. Her poetry became a light, not just for herself, but for anyone who touched her words. She loved with a rare, unwavering loyalty. She cared for her son, for her friends, for those who wandered lost into her orbit. Her home was filled with music, with the scent of good food, with warmth that never needed explanation. You could feel her truth in every room, in every look, in the gentle way she let others feel seen. This wasn't about perfection. It was about presence, living with open eyes, open hands, a willingness to begin again, no matter how many times the world tried to silence her. Maya made her pain useful, her love visible. Not by teaching theory, but by being, moving, choosing, over and over again. What would it look like for you to embody truth this way, to let your truth move right through you, simple as breath? Let Maya's alignment settle into your bones tonight. You don't have to know all the answers. Just walk your own lines and let your energy speak what words cannot. Mastery isn't a finish line. It's a rhythm carried in the way you move through the world. For Maya, mastery lived in her courage. Not the showy kind, the kind that sits with shadow, holds another's gaze, stands up when standing means risk. In story after story, you'd find her refusing to step back, even when fear clawed at her. Whether reading her poetry before presidents or comforting a stranger, the internal steadiness never faltered. She was a master of being unshakable, and just as often, a master of letting herself fall apart when that's what life required. There's a quiet magic in someone who knows how to return to their own center to find breath in a storm. Maya offered that magic not by hiding her flaws, but by welcoming them home. She joked about her mistakes, forgave quickly, listened longer than most people knew how. Her mastery was a song, echoing even in silence, a signal that heart can be made rhythmic, steady, safer. Maybe the mastery you crave is simpler than you think. Maybe it is just showing up fully, staying real, living grounded. Let Maya's rhythm become part of your own, woven gently into every step you take tomorrow. There are laws that aren't written, truths that are lived. Maya's life brimmed with these invisible codes. She carried dignity without needing to demand it, moved with compassion even when others did not, trusted that kindness was power, not weakness. She forgave, sometimes before anyone asked. There was a hidden law behind everything she did, to let life break you open, but not apart, to remain soft, especially when the world asked for hard edge, to speak when it matters, but to listen first, to keep faith in the worth of your story, even after years of silence, to refuse to return harm for harm, yet never abandon justice altogether. Maybe these laws aren't named for you yet. Maybe you just feel their quiet presence, guiding your steps tonight. This is the rhythm Maya lived by, unseen, but unmistakable to anyone who shared her orbit. As you rest, let those gentle codes stir in your own heart. Let them find a home without needing to define them. If you listened in, and Maya's soul could speak quietly beyond words, what would she whisper? First, she might say, "You are enough just as you are." She would tell you that gentleness is not weakness, that your wounds are not your shame, but your wisdom. She would tell you to keep your heart open, even when the world begs for you to close it. To remember that forgiveness frees you first, and courage is the slowest, deepest breath you can take. She would whisper to remain loyal to wonder, to never stop listening for the truth beneath the noise, to trust that every voice matters, but that the deepest truths start in silence. And finally, she might remind you, you are the dream of your ancestors, the living, breathing hope they never got to see. Let the warmth of her wisdom stay with you long after these words fade. Now, in the softest glow of night, let's rest here together. Let Maya's presence fill the space beside you. Repeat this gentle mantra with each breath. I am allowed to be soft. I am allowed to be strong. I am enough right now. Breathe in. I am allowed to be soft. Breathe out. I am allowed to be strong. Breathe in. I am enough. Let these words become the rhythm of your rest. Let the story settle. Let your heartbeat find its calm pace. You are not alone in this path. Maya walks with you, as does every gentle, courageous soul before and after. Let go of striving. Just rest in presence. You are allowed to be both thunder and quiet, both frightened and brave. I am allowed to be soft. I am allowed to be strong. I am enough right now. Stay here a little longer. Until tomorrow's light, there are stories that change your mind and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. Tonight on the Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, their story may become your own. Have you ever felt alone in a crowded room or stayed awake late? The weight of your day pressing gently on your chest. Maybe you've wondered if anyone truly sees you, or if your voice would ever matter. Maybe there was a morning when all you wanted was to be understood, to be known. That's exactly what Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion, once felt too. So, settle in, let breath slow down, let Maya's life find you, not through the lens of heroism, but as a soft echo inside your own longing. This story is for the nights when your heart aches for something more, for the days when obstacles seem endless, for the quiet between your thoughts, when you sense there's a deeper river running beneath the surface of ordinary life. Tonight, you'll hear about a life born from hardship, shaped by silence, and kindled by hope. You'll hear how ordinary pain can become an extraordinary presence, and you might just hear your own soul reflected back to you, steady and gentle. Breathing in the dark, maybe you've walked through chapters that felt too heavy to carry alone. Maybe you've found courage in life's smallest moments, a smile, a touch, a word spoken at the right time. Maya did too. Stay. Let's wander together, step by step. There's no rush. There's just the gentle rhythm of a life whose quiet courage still ripples through the world. She was born in a world that didn't quite know what to do with her light. Stamps, Arkansas, 1928. The edges of the South were rough, the air thick and sweet with magnolias and memory. Maya, though known first as Marguerite, was just a small child with wide, watchful eyes, soaking in a world divided by color and circumstance. Maybe you can remember moments when childhood didn't feel like play, when the world suddenly asked you to be stronger, to hold more than your hands could carry. Underneath her grandmother's roof in Stamps, Maya learned to listen before she ever raised her voice. Her parents had split, scattering her young heart across states, sending her and her brother Bailey from city to city, searching for stability in the lull between trains, the hush of long evenings. That longing for belonging settled in her bones. She was loved, yes. Her grandmother's gentle hands, her brother's easy laughter, these were anchors. Yet, even wrapped in those comforts, Maya could feel the heavy silence between words, the gap between who she was and what the world expected her to be. School was more than letters and numbers. It was the first test of dignity. Classrooms filled with children divided by skin, with teachers that saw limits in her before they saw the quiet brilliance of her mind. Yet Maya listened, watched, waited, in the cadence of hymns at church, in the soft clink of china at the family store, in the sigh of wind through pine trees at dusk. She learned to find beauty in small things. She learned the world's language, even as it tried not to understand hers. There were days when fear crept in. Silent as a shadow, she saw injustice up close, saw the ways adults twisted themselves to stay safe, the way dignity hung by a thread. Even as a child, she sensed life can be hard, but there is something stronger than circumstance. So she held on to hope quietly, even on the greyest days, because even then, even in silence, a small fire was beginning to glow within her. It wasn't a lightning bolt. That first spark, not a dramatic leap, but a slow awakening, like eyes adjusting from dark to dawn. Have you ever felt a shift inside? Not from what you're told, but from something you hear only in the quiet. For Maya, that moment came as a hush, an absence. She stopped speaking for years. A terrible thing had happened. A betrayal, a silence forced by trauma too heavy for her young voice to carry. The world became quiet, words locked behind her lips. But while everyone else saw silence, Maya's inner world erupted with color and sound. Words from books soared inside her. Stories, poetry, new languages on every page. She became a quiet alchemist, transforming pain into imagination, suffering into empathy. She read everything she could find: Dickens, Shakespeare, Poe. She started to realize words have power even when unspoken. Listening could be its own kind of speaking, and as years passed, the silence didn't shrink her, it deepened her. She learned to see beneath the surface, to sense the silent stories living inside everyone she met. That inner light, that gentle strength, began to grow. The world had tried to hush her, but inside she started writing her own music. Pain, she knew, wasn't just in what happened. It was in the feeling of being invisible, misunderstood, pushed to the edge. Maya saw her family cope with hardship in their own ways. Her grandmother's faith, Bailey's jokes, her mother's fierce love mixed with wandering restlessness. No one was whole, but everyone kept going. Maybe you know that feeling. She navigated racism that pressed against every moment of ordinary life. White folks passing by with glances half curious, half cruel. The rules nobody said out loud, but everyone knew. Maya's quiet made her a mirror for other people's truth. Sometimes the pain was heavy, that sense of endlessness, that maybe nothing would ever change. She walked the long red roads between home and school, wondering who she'd become if she ever felt truly free. In her silence, she noticed everything. The way people hid their fears behind laughter, the ways kindness and cruelty danced together in small-town afternoons. Growing older, she moved between worlds, sometimes in the city with her mother, sometimes back in stamps, trying to figure out where she fit. She learned that belonging could be as fragile as breath. Yet, in every hard season, something sacred was being woven inside her, a kind of quiet resilience, a determination to love. Even when life didn't make it easy, there were tears, anger, confusion. Not every day brought healing, but even in sorrow, Maya kept showing up to life, and in time, the world didn't just happen to her. She started to happen to the world. Sometimes life brings you to a crossroads that can't be ignored. There was a day Maya found herself tired of silence. She realized her voice, her true, whole voice, could be her own kind of freedom, With a trembling heart, she spoke again. One sentence at first, then another. The sound felt foreign and familiar, like returning home after years away. That single choice to trust her own voice changed the shape of her story. She started performing, first in small community shows, feeling the electricity of language shared aloud, and then motherhood. Young, scared, and full of wonder, Maya gave birth to her son, Guy. Suddenly, every decision carried more weight. She wanted her boy to grow up with hope, to believe something brighter was possible. She worked countless jobs: waitress, streetcar operator, dancer, singer, making a place for her family in a world that didn't always make room. But she kept showing up, kept growing, kept daring to risk her heart. That turning point, the choice to speak, to create, to mother, to refuse disappearance, was the beginning of everything. Maya never lived small, even when life felt small. She let movement become her truth. Moving cities, moving across continents, moving through heartbreak and renewal, turning every job and every stage into a classroom for her soul. She lived in rhythm, writing, performing, raising her boy, holding community together when it threatened to fall apart in San Francisco, in New York, in Ghana, in Egypt. Everywhere she went, Maya listened, learned, adapted. She didn't just survive. She transformed circumstance into opportunity, sorrow into beauty. Everything she did with her whole heart. She led with dignity, grounded in the wisdom that comes from seeing both joy and pain intimately. She joined the civil rights movement, working beside leaders who made history by simply refusing to let hate have the last word. She wrote her first book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, pouring out decades of silence and song onto the page. And in every room, on every stage, she carried the same gentle presence. Every movement, every laugh, every tear, all true, all hers. She began to show the world that quiet courage isn't just surviving. It's the fullness of being alive. What is mastery, if not grace under pressure? Maya's greatest strength wasn't control, but flow. She learned to trust her own rhythm. When the world demanded anger, she offered wisdom. When life brought loss, she crafted meaning. She became a master at turning setbacks into stepping stones. When a door closed, she found a window. When a hand was raised against her, she raised her words higher. The world saw her as a writer, a performer, a teacher, but those were just faces for something deeper. Real mastery was in the way she loved, the way she entered a room and saw every person, every wound, every longing, and honored it. The way she listened as much as she spoke, the way she kept hope alive season after season. When others fell silent, Maya sang. When others stumbled, she steadied them. She helped generations learn how to rise. And she did it all in rhythm with her heart, never rushing, always anchored. What did she live by, if not a hidden law? To the world it looked like grace, like resilience, like showing up no matter the odds. But underneath, Maya moved by a sacred code. Come as you are. Speak your truth. Meet each day with a kindness fiercer than your fear. She kept her word. valued presence over performance, trusted stillness when everyone else rushed to action. Maya loved with boundaries. She forgave not to excuse, but to set herself free. She knew that real strength is soft, that gentleness can outlast anger and outshine despair. Her life was a dance between letting go and holding on, between being heard and listening deeply. She walked the world not to change it, but to keep it company, to remind it over and over that every soul matters. If her soul could speak here, in the hush between waking and sleep, what would Maya Angelou whisper? Maybe this: even when the world is unkind, you can choose to be kind, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. You are not just what has happened to you, you are what you do with it. Every suffering can become a doorway. Don't shrink to fit the fear in other people's eyes. Stand tall, claim your space, and above all, when you find your voice, use it with truth, with courage, with tenderness. The world needs your song. Let those words float with you now, deeper and deeper into the night. All of this, her journey, her presence, her becoming, it lingers here with you. There's nothing to do now. Just be. Just breathe. With every inhale, imagine Maya's gentle courage beside you. With every exhale, let yourself feel ease. Feel belonging, repeating softly, I am enough. I am worthy of love. I walk in quiet courage. Again, I am enough. I am worthy of love. I walk in quiet courage. Let these words become the rhythm of your heart. Let presence fill the space where fear used to live, where doubt tried to linger. This is not just Maya's story. It's a mirror of your own. Rest here. Let yourself arrive. You are already on the path, right where you are, right as you are. There are stories that change your mind and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, their story may become your own. Have you ever felt a current of longing underneath your daily life, a hunger for meaning, or just a gentle wish that someone might see you as you really are? Maybe there was a time when your words got stuck, or when silence was the safest language you knew, or when you wondered if anyone else felt what you did, but the world seemed too hurried to notice. That's exactly what Maya Angelou, quiet courage and compassion, once felt too. Let it be just us, for now. Let the day fall away. You don't have to be anyone tonight but who you are, breathing in